Hello everybody, welcome back to Road to Master. I hope you all have an amazing day. We're starting off with the white pieces against a 1984 from Greece. So, I just want to quickly say, while we're playing the two nights French, by the way, where I've been for the last 4 days, I think. Yes, I think I owe you guys an apology. I, to be honest, have been trying to record videos, and I've not felt like the videos have been good enough, basically, for what I sort of want. You know, I sometimes the videos won't be great, sometimes they will be better, but I think I do try to hold some sort of standard for the videos on the channel. And they've just not been good. The games themselves haven't been horrible, but just the commentary I think is not ideal. So I've not been doing that, and alongside lack of time with work and being busy and stuff, I've just not had time to make videos. Especially yesterday. Yesterday I did a Tough Mudder, which was hard. And that took most of the day, and I'm definitely feeling the effects of it today. So anyway, that's where I've been. We have a French. I'll quickly go over these moves because I was playing without thinking or talking, really. Two knights French. They played knight BD7. I think we potentially could have made a bit more of this, but we decided to trade off bishop D3, castles. They fianchetto their light squared bishop, which I think is fine. We just got to be a bit wary about the d-pawn. So he plays c3, bishop g5, pinning the knight, and then castles. So I think we're in a solid position. And yeah, we just have to see where it goes from here, really. I think a queen d2 is okay. We have to be a bit careful of bishop takes knight, but I don't think they would want to swap out this powerful bishop for this pathetic knight, I think. Then again, knight e5 doesn't look horrible. Maybe get the knight to c4, kick out this bishop, and then we're potentially freeing up spots for our queen if this knight ever moves, or if we decide to trade it off or anything. Like maybe a knight g4 looks appetizing as well. So I think we go for that. I think we go for that. They decide to break in the center with a c5. We could carry on this idea. We could take. It depends how much we're bothered by the isolated queen pawn, is the question, really. I think taking gives us the better option. They might have to go bishop e7, which isn't ideal for them, I don't think. So if they decide to take, for starters, then probably like a knight takes, pawn takes, bishop h6, rook goes over, and then a queen g4 looks nice. So they might have to sack the rook, which could be good. So the bishop probably has to go back, and then we can think about taking, potentially. With the same pawn takes, because bishop takes will lead into the same position we've just seen. Then again, do they have knight takes? I don't think they do. I don't think that leads anywhere particularly nice for them. We have queen takes if we really need to, but we probably just take the free queen. So the bishop goes back, then we take, and we potentially trade off queens, and then trade everything else off. And I think they have the slightly weaker pawn structure. I think we go for knight g4 either way. I don't see it ending in a bad position. And once this knight goes off, we also have threats of queen bishop takes h7 as well, with like a queen h5 h5 check. The king goes back, and maybe we can try get in there with the bishop. The rook might have to give itself up again with the queen check coming in on g7. They decide to take, and I think this is fine for us. I mean, it can't not be fine for us, you know. Knight takes knight. The queen obviously can't take because of the bishop. So pawn takes, and then just a bishop h6. They have to give up the rook, otherwise it's going to be mating. I think he's just fine, right? I think he's just fine. Could we throw in something a bit more forcing? There's potential. There's potential to throw in something a bit more forcing with a bishop takes pawn. If king takes, then knight takes comes with check. But then the king can go to g7. So knight takes, pawn takes. Bishop h6. Say the king goes there. Then maybe takes. I think it starts with knight takes, right? I think it starts with knight takes. Knight takes, pawn takes is the answer. Oh, and then we have queen h5, which is really nice. Then we have queen h5. If the rook moves over, then we have bishop h6. I think. Or do we go queen takes, king over, then check, king there, bishop takes. I think wins the queen at least. So we start off with knight takes, and then queen h5, threatening mate on h7. I don't think they can stop that, so they can't take. So they have to move the rook over. Oh, and then maybe even a queen h6 ourselves. Looks really, really scary. Yeah. So we throw in this queen h5 move. I think is crushing, right? It has to be crushing. And then we go queen h6, which is really sneaky. And then you're threatening to take f6 as well, which is really, really nice. So the queen h6 is just to stop the king escaping once they move this rook. And then, yeah, you've got the threat of bishop takes as well. Then the bishop comes back with some mating sequence. Hopefully. Always a hopefully. Yeah. So they have to give up the queen here. I think is the only reasonable response. We might have to be a bit careful. But I think throwing in checks is fine. At least for now. We'll go there and then take. I think is fine. And this is stopping a lot of things from them. The queen being on f6, and they can't really hit it unless they move their bishop somewhere, which they can't at the minute. So they're threatening to go bishop e7 here. I could take this, potentially. I could take that potentially. I don't think that's wise. I really don't think that's wise. Oh, we could go like bishop c5, maybe. Bishop c5. They go bishop there. Maybe we throw in the check first, then bishop c5. Bishop there. I don't know. Maybe we just play it slow. We could potentially go for like a g4, which is wild. That's sketchy though, because if they ever go like king h8, the rook g8's like coming in very quickly. Then again, a rook lift also does a very similar job. So maybe we just go for a rook lift. And the problem is if they move their bishop, then they're losing control of the g3 square, which is nice for us. So we go king h7, h6, queen h6, sorry. I don't know what I'm talking about. I don't know what I'm talking about at all. And then rook e3 looks nice. They're going to struggle. They're going to struggle to defend this. Just rook e3 looks really, really nice. I don't know how they defend this, to be honest. I really don't. Other than like a king h8 quickly. But then you're just trading off more pieces, and it's a very similar situation. I think even a rook h3 works if they decide to go king h8. Rook h3 also works. They can't defend this h pawn. No matter how much they try, and then you just get the king out of the corner, and then yeah, king h3 looks nice. Now we can go. No, we just go king rook h3 still, right? We just go rook h3 still. And then we at least get a good attack going. At least. They can try and move away. They can't actually do anything at the minute. Actually, whatever that is. f6 is nice. Yeah, maybe we should have gone queen f6 first. Okay. Well, we just take that then. We just take that. Threatening to take e6 with bishop takes as well. We can get the rook on e1. We have to potentially watch out for back rank mates, all that good stuff. But as long as we're not super silly, we should be okay. We should be okay. We'll go rook e1. Threaten to take. Rook c7. Oh, they go bishop there. Okay. Well, we can just take this, right? Tactically works. With the threat of bishop takes. You go there. I will throw in a check. Throw in a check and then take. Oh, you go there. That's annoying. Oh, no, because then we can take. Because the rook's pinned. And then rook there. Doesn't quite work just yet. But we can go check again. Then go there, maybe. That works. We've got to be a bit quick here. We've got to be a bit quick. With threat of that, we can go rook e3 as well. I think looks nice. The bishop is a bit pinned in. Okay. We got to speed up seriously here. We'll go bishop g6. I think looks nice. We've got to really focus here. Threatening. Not quite, mate. Not quite, mate. Not quite, mate. But if we get rook e3, that should be mating, hopefully. We've got to be actually very careful with back rank threats here. If we go queen h8, rook down, then there is mating, right? That is mating. So they've got to deal with that, which they're going to really struggle with. Yeah. That's a really nice way of getting the rook away from the defense. So it no longer can guard f7, so then just takes his mate. That's really, really nice. Good attacking game. Good attacking game. Let's have a gander. I'm sure there'll be some misses in there. 94.6. You know, I'll take that. I will definitely take that. 94.6 versus a 79.7. 2500 versus 2350. Let's have a look. French, blah, 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 2 knights. Knight d7, knight b d7. No, just knight d7. Is one way of sort of declining the more main line of knight f6. Going into the Rubinstein, I think. As we all know, they can do this straight away as well. leads to an interesting position. Yeah, d4, you have to. I don't think you can let them get e5. And you're freeing up both of your bishops as well to do their bishop-y activities. Takes, yeah, you always sort of take that. You just have to. It's uncomfortable giving them the knight on f6. But I think you just have to. Bishop d3, normal development. And they go for this fianchetto line. They can also go bishop d7 to c6, I think is valid as well. But this leads to a very similar result. Castles, c3 is fine. Bishop g5, normal development here. Just pinning. Which made us some threats as well. So we go knight e5. First little mistake. Not horrible. It wants bishop c2. I'm guessing the plan is just to get a d3 sort of battery going. Making some loose threats. They would have to play a g6, which might be considered uncomfortable. Then maybe you can go for this later on. You know, you get the rook in. It's all very similar, I think. And they make the mistake, I think, of going to c5, allowing knight g4. This is on its own isn't horrible. But they needed to play bishops to e7 here. You can't let this happen. Not when all of my pieces are pointing towards your king. You know, it's not nice. Like, your pieces are just on the other side of the board. They're still undeveloped. Yeah, I mean, contesting the center is not what you need to be doing right here. So d takes, knight takes. I don't think bishop takes gets us anywhere. Because the king can potentially come forward even, or go to the side, and then you're not really hitting f7 either. You know, they can play like a queen e7 or something if they really, really need to. Although apparently that's fine. Oh, because of the discovered threat. Ah, that's clever. That is clever. Okay. G takes. Oh. G takes, yeah. And then queen h5 is the correct move. I don't think bishop h6 is fast enough. I think it's still okay, but it's slow. Oh, f5, and that stops both the bishop coming in and the queen coming into g4 as well. So you have to go queen h5 apparently. And then they have time to do a lot of things because the queen's covering this check on g5 and the pawns are covering g6. This pawn's covering g4. Your attack's no longer really there, basically. So we went queen h5, which was the only move. F5, yeah, nice. And then we just pick up the queen, basically. We're up a queen for a bishop here. And we're low on time. We used a lot of time calculating that and talking and whatnot. So we're low on time and we have to find the correct moves here. Queen g5 works. Apparently not the tidiest, but works. And then king h8. We get in this position. I like this. You know, you're cutting off a lot of activity for their pieces. They do have this bishop e7 thing, but I think that's fine. And then you're covering your d pawn as well. Yeah, we let bishop e7 come with the tempo, which isn't ideal, but I don't think it's the end of the world. I think the rooks coming in was the smart thing to do, because realistically this bishop's not a part of the attack at the minute because of this f pawn. So you need to get the rooks in as quick as possible, basically. Queen h6, yeah, you're just cutting off support for the king. You're still hitting the h pawn as well. And to be honest, where else are you going? You're not going to e5. So, yeah. The rooks come in, yeah, and then just the rook lift. They can take this, but they also can't at the same time because, yeah, not nice stuff. You actually take this rook, and then you're freeing up your bishop to do their bishop things. All that good stuff. Rook h3, I think, was a smart move as well. You could go for the exchange sort of idea. But being low on time, I needed to really go for the kill. I really needed to go for the kill. Oh, f4. Really smart idea. Just blocking the bishop's cover of g3. I really like that. Really, really like that. Maybe a king h8 here works. Not really. Oh, because then you have queen f6. Nice. f6 is a great move, allowing the rook to cover this pawn. Queen takes. And then it's really wanting bishop c4. It's really wanting bishop c4. Maybe to go d5. Maybe to just take with check and have done. Which is, by the way, sort of threatening mate as well. Really nice. Bishop d5 gets there quick. And then we have bishop f5. And the reason we can take this pawn is because this pawn is pinned to the rook, which comes with mate in 2 moves as well. Rook f7. Yeah, this is when things start to get tricky. We're low on time, and they've got time now to get their sort of rooks in the way, which can be a bit tricky sometimes. Apparently, you can take this, and if rook takes, then you just check, and then take, which is nasty, which is very, very nasty. So that you can do that bishop check, and I'm pretty sure I mentioned that. I was too scared. We waited till the rook was pinned first. And the king goes, you have check there. We shuffled a bit. I pinned the rook again, trying to get this rook in. They brought their other rook, which makes things even harder for us this time. Bishop to f7. Trying to cut off the escape square for the king. And then we found this really nice tactic. You check, which is a forced move. They're forced to bring this rook down to block the check. At which point the rook's no longer covering this 7th rank, and we use our tricky queen to get to this square now, which is all covered, so they have to do this. Supported by the bishop is just mate. That was a good game. I think I don't really have many criticisms of that. We potentially could have been a bit faster with the time. We got in a bit of unnecessary pressure there. But I think we saw the opening and we took it, and we capitalized on that pretty well. Anyway, thank you all for watching. I hope you all enjoyed. Please like if you liked. Please subscribe if you really liked. And I'll catch you guys all tomorrow. Bye-bye.